Welcome to European Parliamentary Research Service podcast on the European Parliament's legislative initiative.
The Commission proposes, Parliament and Council decide. This has been the traditional approach to lawmaking in the European Union until now.
But the increasing need to put the citizens' voice at the heart of EU lawmaking via the role of the European Parliament in the legislative procedure is challenging this assumption and could open the door to a more democratic union. Want to know more? Stay with us.
In EU member states, the right to propose new laws is not exclusive to the government. Parliaments can do that too. But at EU level, this right is reserved almost entirely for the European Commission.
The European Parliament has special initiative rights when it comes to its organisation, functions and the European elections, but in all other matters, the Commission has almost an absolute monopoly. So why is that?
To understand this, we need to go back to post-war Europe and the mistrust of the political process that the war had generated. So, when the idea of a European community began to shape, everyone agreed that the common interest would be better served by an impartial and neutral authority composed of experts rather than politicians.
However, even if it doesn't have a formal right to propose new laws, the European Parliament, as well as the Council, have the right to invite the Commission to do so.
Now, this doesn't create an obligation on the Commission's side, but if it fails to follow the Parliament's request, it needs to come up with good reasons to justify why within 3 months.
Any member of the European Parliament has the right to table a legislative proposal, but this needs the backing of an absolute majority of all members in plenary. And over the years, the Parliament has gained a commitment from the Commission on its follow-up to Parliament's legislative initiatives.
Even if, of the 29 requests for legislation submitted by Parliament between 2009 and 2019, only 7 were indeed answered by the Commission. But the Parliament is not giving up. Stay with us.
It is certainly not giving up. Actually, there is a trend towards greater use of formal parliamentary legislative initiatives to assert greater influence on the political process.
Many also see the Parliament's increasing participation in overall political planning, particularly through negotiations on the Commission's work programme, as another way for it to influence EU legislation.
Since the Treaty of Lisbon came into force in 2009, the Parliament can now co-legislate on an equal footing with the Council in a vast majority of areas. Many believe this has led to a gradual erosion of the Commission's monopoly on initiative, with the Commission keeping the formal right of legislative initiative while sharing the right of political initiative with the other institutions.
Some experts see this erosion of the Commission's role as the sole policy developer and the Parliament's increasing powers as natural signs of the EU becoming more democratic and mature.
And now Commission President Ursula von der Leyen seems determined to strengthen the partnership between Commission and the European Parliament even more, saying the Commission will respond with a legislative act when a majority of the Parliament's members requested to come up with a new law, all of this while respecting the subsidiarity and proportionality principles.
Von der Leyen also declared her support for the recognition of Parliament's right to legislative initiative. Now, could this bring the Parliament a step closer to achieving its long-cherished dream of a fully fledged standalone right to initiate legislation?
Well, many are the voices arguing that as the only democratically elected European institution, the Parliament needs the right of initiative so that it can issue its own proposals independently from the European Commission.
This could help close the alleged democratic deficit of the Union and make European citizens feel they have a greater say in deciding what kind of Europe we want for the future. But will the Commission go as far as this?
Traditions and monopolies are certainly difficult to break, but who knows?
You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcast.